My titties are... Oh. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Fearless as Fuck, the podcast. I'm your host, Christina Lauren. We have a very spicy guest for you today. One of our interns here at Sticky Paws Studio, Lana, is here with us. So excited to have you.
Hi, guys.
I've been wanting to talk to you forever, so I'm really excited to have you guys on. For those of you who don't know, Lana, like I said, is an intern here at Sticky Paws. She's also the host of Laughing with Lana, which is her own podcast. Yes. She has guests come on to talk about trauma bonding, relationships, traumatic events, jokes, and more. As I've sure a lot of you know, sometimes comedy can be used as a form of coping, and so this is something that gets talked a lot about here with Lana, and also our girlfriend Michaela Gordon, who has so funny it hurts. Yes, yeah. Shout out
She's
to
hilarious.
Michaela. Love her to death. I met her actually off Instagram, which is so random, and she wound up moving here, and then I brought her on, and now she has her show here, so we're super excited about that. But I'm really excited to talk to you because I think that we took a big pause on bringing guests on to talk about trauma because we were doing so much trauma on this podcast that I kind of I laugh about it, but it's really true that trauma does shape you, right?
Yes.
And everything that you've been through growing up, with your childhood, into your relationships, into just, life events that happen to you really have an impact on how your character is shaped and how you go into the world. And I know you've been through a lot. And but what I find people who have been through a lot really interesting and really intriguing. One, because I can relate to them so much more. I just feel like when I meet somebody who hasn't really been through anything and has had life
like
handed to them on a platter and fed with a silver spoon their entire life, it's really hard to dig deep with them because it's just a little unrelatable. At least in my personal position. I'm not hating on anybody who's had like a perfect life, but
No, I'm hating on them.
yeah, but a little bit. But it does make you more real and raw, and it teaches you a lot about things, and it teaches you how to be humble and just see life from a really good perspective. So I want to just dive in and have you kind of talk about how you grew up and maybe introduce yourself because I don't know that much about you. So let's just start from the beginning.
We just chit-chat a lot about boys.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I'm Lana Cherries. I'm a comedian. So that's when I started my podcast. I started my podcast because I do laugh at my trauma. I enjoy laughing at my trauma. Like the things that I've been through, I'm like, there's always a joke in something that I've been through. My childhood was actually fucking fantabulous. Like my mom was... Like, I believed in Santa Claus till I was, 15, I think. I was I had such an amazing childhood. I had both my parents are still together. My brothers were great. Like, my childhood wasn't bad at all. It all happened when I got married. Once I got married, I realized, oh, my God, trauma exists.
How old were you when you got married?
Well, I was with him since I was 17. He was my high school sweetheart. And I got married at 23. But even when I got married, in my head, I knew I shouldn't have gotten married. But it was one of those, we have time in. It's kind of it's just time. But when I was 20, he made me get an abortion. And so we always had our issues after that because I'm like, you made me get rid of it and I didn't want to and I want to have kids and he didn't. So I always blamed him for that. And just because we were together for so long, we felt like we just had to stay together. And his family was fucking... Oh my God, his family was so in my nuts, bro. I could have swore I came out of his mom's pussy as some vagina. Can I say that on your
Say whatever you want to say.
That fucking bitch's pussy was, I swear it held me and everyone in the world. She's so in everyone's business that it was just hard to be with someone that had a different culture from me. I'm Mexican and Puerto Rican. He was Filipino. And they are very different. The culture is so different. And they wanted me to be like them. And my dumbass, I was slowly getting brainwashed into being like them. Doing things that I didn't want. Being in medical. because it's such an Asian thing to do, to just be a fucking nurse. So they told me to be a nurse, and I went to nursing school. Hated fucking life. I hated my life when I was married. But it was a lot of molding that they did to me.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of like loss of self and like identity loss. You know what I mean?
Totally. This dude knew my social security number. I didn't even know it. I'm like, how the fuck did you apply for a fucking credit card on my name? Like, he was doing shit like that. Like, it was a bunch of, like I said, it was molding. And my parents raised me to, like, my dad is such a, like, do what you want. You can be anything in the world. If you want to be this, do it. If you want to be that, do it. As long as you're not hurting people, do whatever the fuck you want. My mom's a little more strict, but my mom's more like just have self-respect.
Right.
Like, always have self-respect. Like you could do whatever you want, but you just make sure you look good doing it. You know, like don't make an ass out of yourself. So when I was with them, when I got into that family, it was like, oh, no, this is how we do it.
That's a culture shock for sure.
Oh, my fucking God. It was a constant, like, how do you say, constant, like, you had to impress his family. I don't know. It
sounds like you were kind of walking on eggshells that entire relationship.
Totally. That.
And that's a hard thing to do, too, is because, especially if you know in the back of your head that it's not working, and you're not in the position that you want to be, and this is not the way you want to live your life, and you're constantly trying to impress other people with something that isn't even you, you're going to live in a constant state of hypervigilance and be so anxious.
It was horrible. It was totally horrible. Because like you said, like, I'm constantly trying to impress them. And, like, because they were the type that's like, if you want to be with my son, you have to do this.
I got you.
Oh,
yeah.
my fucking God, girl.
That's tough.
And I wanted to be with him. I loved him so much. Like, he's probably, like, the one person that I can say that I was, like, genuinely in love with. I haven't felt that way about somebody else, but I also wanted to impress his family so much because I did want to be with him. And because he was so into his family and that family dynamic is so tight, that I was like, I do want to impress your mom. I do want to impress your dad. I do want to be friends with your sister.
And those are good qualities to have, to want to do that at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like a slippery slope when you start losing yourself in the process.
Totally.
Yeah. So how long were you guys together?
9 years. Well, 8.5. But
okay.
Almost 9 years, yeah.
So what happened after that?
I went buck wild. I got divorced and went buck the fuck wild. I became a lesbian for 4 years. I was like super just like just dating girls for 4 years. And then I wanted to have kids. So I was like, I'm going to be the lesbian that just gets pregnant by herself. And I went to go check how much it is to go get impregnated by a doctor. Bitch. That shit was so expensive that I was like, nah. I was like, bro, nut is free on the streets. Like,
oh my God.
I was like, no, I'm gonna just hop back on the dick wagon. I'm back, motherfuckers. So I started dating guys again, and I think that's where, like, a lot of my trauma started. Because my trauma has really, like, nothing to do with, like, me. Like, I tell people that I'm insecure, and they're like, oh, well, you're so pretty, or whatever. I'm like, I ain't insecure in me, bitch. I'm insecure in, like, other dudes and how they see me, or, like, how other people respect me.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, my insecurities have to do with, like, is that dude cheating on me, or, like, is he doing things behind my back? Like, it has nothing to do with me and my confidence, but it's just like how guys have hurt me so much in the past, and they've done me, like, dirty.
Yeah, and that's something that we talk a lot about too, because it's so hard not to carry your trauma into new relationships and new situations. And, you know, obviously a new partner doesn't deserve the treatment, how am I trying to say this? Like, you projecting your fears and insecurities from other relationships onto a new person.
Right.
That person doesn't deserve that.
Right.
However, it's our job to like manage the shit that we've been through so we don't spill it onto other people.
True.
But at the same time, like finding somebody who also understands your triggers and traumas is really important. At the same time, it might not be their responsibility to fix it.
Yeah.
But they, being aware is one thing. Because you can wind up with somebody who doesn't give a fuck about your emotional, like they don't have any emotional intelligence, doesn't give a shit about what you went through. And that's not fair either, because you're never going to be able to have any kind of good communication if they can't understand why you are the way you are.
Right.
But it is a struggle when you try and get into new relationships post-trauma.
Oh.
I speak from from experience.
Well, honestly, what's funny is that, so like late, oh God. More trauma. So
trauma has entered the chat.
Oh God, yeah. So there was being married, and then there was dating a bunch of assholes, and I have terrible taste in men, but I stopped it. I do.
Hey, at least you're self-aware.
I'm very self-aware, girl. I'm like I like pimps and drug dealers. No, I did, but they fucked me over, and then I stopped dating. I was like, all right, I'm just like, I think I need a break. I think like my trauma's affecting me. I think I need a break. And then I was single for like about 6 months at this time, and a guy raped me. Great, right? This was a person that I did not know, raped me. 4 days later, I tell my friend, like, hey, something happened. And he's like, oh my God, come over. I'm going to help you. Like I want to help you get through it. Let's just come over and we can smoke. I'm like, all right, cool. I went over. He sexually assaulted me. So then 2 weeks after that, the guy that I was actually dating, because he lived in California, I went to go visit him. And when I told him what happened, he tried to comfort me with sex. So I was like, like, you motherfuckers are just horny. Like, I'm over it. So I stayed single for like the last year and a half. And it wasn't just until recently that I started like dating again. But I noticed that like me being single, and just because a guy wants you, they want you to like heal so much faster. Because I'm alone. Like, I need to stay by myself right now. I'm healing. And they're like, you need to get over that. Not all guys are like that. And I was like, well, I'm working on that. No, well, not all guys are like that. You can't just generalize all guys and just put all men in one group. And I'm like, but that's where my mentality's at right now.
And I'm telling you I need time.
And I'm telling you I need time to heal, but you're telling me to just get over it now because you want to sleep with me. Bitch, fuck you. Like, that's my mentality with, like, men a little bit. It's always been, like, you just want to fuck. And I bring that into not even relationships. I just bring that into, like, regular conversations. Like, as soon as I hear, like, a little trigger, like oh, you're pretty. Oh, God, this dude just want to fuck.
Well, especially after that series of events that you went through, which I'm so sorry to hear that, because that's...
It's funny. It's now.
Well, yeah. Well, I only can relate to that on a small level because I look back. Why can't I talk today? I look back at what I've been through, and I laugh when I talk about it, and I find it comical that I got put through something so rough and also stayed, but I also can see the serious side of like what I needed to learn, like where my lack of boundaries were. Like, I can get really serious with it, but I can also laugh about how fucking ridiculous the shit I went through was, and how like naive I was to not see that I was in this situation. But I think that is also like a coping mechanism, but also a sign that you have healed a little bit when you can actually sit and talk about it and have a conversation and be like, okay, this is what happened. This is why it happened. This is how I wound up in it. And my mentality was like this, but it takes time to get there, and you can't rush that healing process. So it does frustrate me when guys talk like that. Maybe even girls too. I don't even want to generalize this for like a certain sex, but like guys are very sex driven. Like, let's be realistic. Yeah. And if they're forcing you out of your healing process, just telling you to get over something, it doesn't
so that
work.
they can date you.
It doesn't work like that. What? So then you have sex with them, and then they call you crazy for like being triggered because you weren't healed yet.
They did that to me.
It doesn't make any sense. So like, not listening to all that bullshit and taking time for yourself is super fucking important.
Right.
It's super important, and it's really easy to lean on other people and lean on sex and lean on intimate connection when you're feeling vulnerable, because it feels good.
Yeah.
In the moment, at least, but then afterwards you're like, fuck, I was not ready for that.
Yeah.
And you're back in this cycle.
like watching a bad porn.
It's
It's like you ever be in the middle of like, you know, you're watching porn and then you rub one out and then all of a sudden you see the video that you like rubbed one out too.
you're like,
and
this
I'm
is
like,
not it.
I'm so ashamed of myself. I'm so ashamed of myself. I do that with dudes where I'm like, oh my God, this is fun. Like, this is fun. I tend to look past a lot of shit when I feel comfortable with, especially with a man. So I look past a lot of shit. And then when I break up with them, I'm like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was I thinking? I wasted my body on that. Like,
it's tough. I also, what you mentioned about kind of like catching you at vulnerable moments too, because you are so vulnerable, like after trauma and jumping back into things, you're more susceptible. I think there was I don't know if it's a statistic or it's just something that I heard. I'm like anti-statistic when it comes to podcasts, like we were talking about earlier. But I did hear that people who have been sexually assaulted the likelihood of them getting sexually assaulted again is greater.
Yeah.
And you're not the first person that I've talked to that got abused by somebody that they were close to after they were sexually assaulted by somebody that they didn't know, which is fucking insane to me. Insane. I was sexually assaulted by my friend's boyfriend when I was younger.
No way.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, it was that's still something that I like have a trouble talking about because I think I was like 18 or 19 years old. Wow. So it was a long time ago, but I think I lost a lot of trust and faith in people after that because it showed me that somebody so close to you, even though the boyfriend wasn't that close to me, people can just take advantage for whatever that they want to do. Yeah. And obviously men have an easier time doing that. They're bigger, stronger, like you're weaker as a female. Like that is one thing I understand about like the two different sexes. Like we are easier to take advantage of than a man.
Totally.
It just is what it is. But that happened so early, and there were so many incidents that I've had with men at an early age that have shaped my perception that I've had to really get myself out of. And I didn't start talking about that till recently. It wasn't until after my engagement to an extremely toxic person like blew up in my fucking face that I started looking back at my track record at like maybe certain situations that put me into a position to tolerate something else. So that's why I ask, like, what led up to situations that put you into a situation to have something really bad happen? Were there lack of boundaries? Were there like people pleasing tendencies from growing up? You know what I mean? Just in general with anybody, like it always makes me think like, okay, X, Y, and Z happened to somebody. What okay, let me start this over. I think that rape can happen. Really terrible things can happen that are completely out of your control. And it may have nothing to do with how you grew up. It may have had nothing to do with you putting yourself into a position. Nobody deserves that. You could have just been wrong place, wrong time. Yeah. You know what I mean? But when I think about winding up in relationships where I'm like over giving and overdoing it to please somebody else, does that stem back to me seeking love so much that I would self-sacrifice myself? And where does that come from? You know what I mean? So that's why I always ask people, like, were there things growing up that made you a certain way that may have put you into certain kinds of relationships?
Kind of with me per se, I would have to take the accountability of the fact that I was a stripper. I used to strip, and when I got raped the first time with the guy that I didn't know was when I was stripping.
Really?
I was never a stripper at a strip club. I never touched a pole in my life, but I did private parties. So we would go to like the penthouse suites. Like the only way we would get booked is if they had like a penthouse suite so that they knew that it's like we're not going to a room.
Right.
We're not escorts. We're strippers.
Right. This is like a private party.
It's a private party. So you have to have at least like 4 people and up. Like it has to be a lot of people so that we know that it's a party. But we also do private dances. So when the private dances come, it's like, okay, let's go to the back room. I got you like full nude. I'm going to dance for you, for $100, whatever the fuck. And when the guy gave me $200 so I can dance 2 songs for him. So I was like, all right, cool. And he ended up picking me up and like laying me down, getting on top of me. And I was like, this is different. Like, but I was like, I'm gonna let you do you. You gave me $200, like, fuck it. Then he laid, but he was like this really heavy set Indian guy, like the smelly kind, dude.
Oh my God.
Bitch. he stunk like curry. He was on top of me. And he was like on top of me. Mind you, they're not allowed to like take their pants off. They're not like their shirt. Okay, your pants, no. He got on top of me. I don't know how he did it, but his dick ends up inside me. And I was like, that is not what we're doing. I was like, that is not what we're doing. He's like, I'm like literally trying to push him out. He's pushing himself in. He like gets out, like he takes his dick out and he's nutting everywhere. So I'm like, he kind of like came inside me, kind of came outside of me. It was like, it wasn't that long. It really wasn't that long. But I would say it's probably like 6 pumps maybe. And he was like all over. And I was like, oh my God, like what the fuck? Like what just happened?
Yeah, how do you respond to something like that? Because
exactly.
I'm sure you were shocked.
I was shocked. I was disgusted. Like I didn't even say anything. I was like literally get the fuck out. Like just leave the fucking room, get the fuck out. But he wouldn't leave because you know what the fuck? He had the fucking nerve to ask me if I was clean. This bitch ass motherfucker had the nerve to ask me, "Are you clean? You clean, right?" I'm like, bruh, you stuck a dick in me. You don't even know if I'm clean. You don't even think, like, you're asking me that you raped me and you're asking me if I'm clean. Like, that was one thing that I was like, oh, you're a fucking disgusting human being. And I was like, get the fuck out. He's just asking me the whole time, oh, but you're clean, yeah? You're clean? I was like, bro, so you know what? I grabbed all my stuff. I got out of there, changed, and I literally left. And the cold part was that because I was making so much money that night, because, like, I was, like, the party favorite, and I was the other girls that were there, there was other girls and there was one guy that were there. They were already dressed and ready to go. And I'm like, I have 2 more dances to do. I was like, I'm not going to say no to my money. So I was like, you guys go ahead and go. I'm going to stay. Worst decision I've ever fucking made. Because I was like, that's literally what changed my life. Because I had a security there with me. I had 3 other girls with me. But I was like, I need to make my money. Just don't worry about it. I'll go. I'll be fine. Like, I'll be fine. These guys seem cool. These guys seem so cool. And so I was utterly embarrassed. I was super embarrassed, super ashamed of it. I didn't tell anybody until like 3 days later. Like I didn't even tell my best friend till like 3 days later.
I was gonna say, did you feel like you went into almost like just like fight or flight mode because you being able to just shut that off and continue your night and just forget it, or not forget it, but like how were you processing?
I didn't. Like, I really, to be fair, I didn't. I stayed in my truck. I was like, it was one of those, I'm one of those people that, like, if I find out someone died, I'm like, what?
Like, it doesn't hit you right away?
It doesn't hit me right away. It hits me, like, 2 days later when I'm like, oh, my God, like, I can't call that person no more.
Right.
And to me, it was like now my pussy hurts. Now I'm thinking, like, I should go get checked. Oh my God, like, I don't know if he's clean or if he's dirty. He's asking me if I'm clean and dirty. Now I don't know. I need to go get checked. And having the doctor down, because I told my best friend that I had to go get a pap smear. And she was like, okay, no, that sucks. I had fun. And that's when I told her, I was like, I'm really here because, like, I got raped and it's like right when it happened, I didn't even realize I got raped because it was like, it wasn't that many pumps. I wasn't fighting for my life. Like I wasn't like, no. Like,
but see, I think that's you like
blocking
diminishing it, because it's easier to compartmentalize something when you don't accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then too, like I think because I'm one of those people where I'm like, it could be worse. I'm just one of those.
Yeah.
It could be worse. Like my knees hurt, but I could have, they could be broken or something like that. With him, with the rape, it was more of a, like he didn't try to kill me. He didn't put a pillow over my face. I wasn't like fighting for my life. Like he just like stuck his dick in me a few times. I was trying to get him off of me and he would just nutted everywhere. And I was like, in my head, I guess to accept it. Like,
you're not thinking about assault.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's fine, okay, like, okay, like this. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. I think that's what's been my coping mechanism too. But
yeah, it sounds like it for sure.
Totally. Because I feel like if I make it worse than what it was, it's just gonna.
It's more real.
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah. So
I think people do that on a lot of different levels too. So it's not like, I don't know. I only say that because when I think back to like the stuff that I've been through, that was my reaction every time. Well, it wasn't as bad as last time. Or like, okay, you caught him cheating again. Like, well, at least it wasn't, in your face. And I'm like, and thinking back, I'm like, well, what the fuck? Because if that happened to me now, my reaction would be completely different. You'd be gone, cut out of my life for fucking ever. Yeah. And there'd be no excuse. But back then, I was so groomed into just thinking it could be worse. It could be worse. You should be grateful by, my situation's a little bit different. But that was my mentality. I'd always find a way to make it okay.
Yeah.
And that is really dangerous because you can get stuck into situations that do actually become worse and worse. It's one of those things that like women wind up in relationships that wind up beating the shit out of them. And they're like, well, it's okay. He only, punched me this time. He didn't break any bones. It becomes those like, you start doing that to a bigger and bigger. Yeah. And you become groomed essentially. Yeah. So after this happens, did you continue doing private parties for a while?
Fuck no.
I was going to say, did it shut it down for you?
Yeah, that's why what's funny is that like, because I try to take everything as a positive. That's just the type, like I've groomed myself to do that.
Yeah, it's like toxic. It can become like toxic positivity in a way.
I took it as a blessing because I was letting, like when 2020 hit, I wasn't able to work anywhere. Like stripping used to just be like one thing that I did like once a month or like every other week because I needed extra cash. And then when 2020 hit, it was like, this is my only income.
Right.
So I had to like, it was like an everyday thing. And I started hating men. Like I just thought all men were perverts because I'm like, you're in that environment.
You're literally seeing like, that's what you're seeing all the time.
Yeah. So it was like I had like this mistrust in men and like I was dancing a lot. I hated being touched. Oh my God, being touched is it's a big deal. If I let you touch me, especially intimately, you won the jackpot with me because I don't like I don't even like when people's shoulders like rub up against me. I'm like you in my bubble, bitch. Like you way close. But if I let you like touch me, it's like it's a big deal for me personally. Right. But after that whole situation happened, I was like, I just saw myself going into like a really downwards like
spiral.
Pitfall or whatever. And so when that happened, I was like, considering the fact that I was stripping and I was selling drugs while I was stripping, allegedly. I was doing, like, I was selling a lot of the party favors because, you're in the middle of the fucking casino and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, do you know anybody who has weed?
Yeah.
Do you know anybody who has Molly? And I'm like, no. I'm like, bro, we're in the middle of the fucking strip in the casino. Who the fuck is going to bring you coke at 1 o'clock in the fucking morning? No one. So unless you're giving them like $600, they're not going to wake up. So I used to just bring it with me. And I used to have like coke, Molly, ecstasy, weed, and everything. I had everything in my little pipette. So I was like, if I'd have got caught any other way, I would have went to jail. So I'm like, in a sense, I'm like, I guess I'm grooming myself.
Yeah, it sounds like you desensitized everything for yourself.
Yeah. But it helps. It worked for me because I'm like, yeah, I got raped. I can share my story. But I just love that it happened in that way instead of me going to jail or like embarrassing my mom or something like that. Because I'm like, it was easier for me to do that to just deal with the rape by myself instead of like in fucking concrete walls and shit like that. So
it's a big wake up call for sure.
It was a huge wake up call.
Yeah, not only for that, but like for your safety in general. Mm-hmm. So what happened after that? Did you continue in any kind of like adult industry?
I did cam girl, and I hated that too because it was still the same thing that it really like a man's penis fucks with my head a lot. It fucks with my head. Like the traumas, like what's funny is like when I'm dating, I love when a guy is like, nah, I don't want to fuck you, or like they friend zone me. Like if a guy friend zones me, it makes me want to sit on his face so bad. I'm like, when a guy is
guys, make a note.
Friend zone me, I might want to fuck. But it's funny because when I'm dating somebody and they're like, you're beautiful, like, I'd love to marry you, or something like that, or like, you have such an amazing body, or I'm very interested. I'm like, ew, you fucking pervert. Like, all I think is you're a pervert. And if a guy's like, yo, you want to hang out? Like, you just want to go grab tacos? Let's go to a movie real quick. Like, no, like, or if I touch them, or if I, like, hit on them, they're like, that wasn't what this was about, bro. Like, I'm not trying to hit on you. Like, I'm just trying to be friends. That makes me want to fuck him even more, because I'm like, you actually just like me for me.
Yeah.
What?
And well, also, oh God, I feel like I'd rather have that too. I get a lot of like cringe if somebody comes on to me really strong in like a really serious way. Because I still think back to being manipulated. Like I was manipulated and in like by somebody really, really bad, and I wound up engaged to them 5 months later. And like looking back now, I'm like, bitch, you're fucking nuts. Like you should have seen this. But I didn't. But it wasn't like that in the beginning. You know what I mean?
Did
like,
you take any blessings out of it though?
Oh, 1,000% Yeah. I would not be sitting here talking to you in this podcast studio if I hadn't been through some kind of terrible thing that helped me realize who I was losing from myself. It wasn't even like who I could have been, because I was always this confident person, but I saw how quickly I could lose myself in somebody else because of things that they were so easily grooming me to be.
Right.
And I became someone else for them.
Right.
So after all of that happened, and you know, multiple things happened in that relationship multiple times, that led me to trying to understand like why I would stay with somebody who treats me poorly.
Yeah.
And it, you know, people would joke with me because, you know, he had a big following on social media, and they're like, oh, well, you're just staying with him for the money, or you're staying with him for the clout, or whatever. And I'm like, it's so funny because that bitch is broke. Okay, like I don't know about now, but like
you broke bitch.
Like it's just so funny. Like this person like used my credit cards, like
no,
and like owes people money left and right. And so it's just funny because you know, you look at someone's Instagram.
I love that. No,
you can see so much that's not real, right? And it was just, to me, like looking back, it was very embarrassing because like we had created this image on social media.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, power couple this, power couple that. And I'm like, this motherfucker is cheating on me left and fucking right while I have a ring on my finger. Like telling me he wants this monogamous relationship and like belittling me behind closed doors so much and making me feel like a piece of fucking shit. And it turned me into this like people pleasing, like just
because everyone's eyes are on you.
Yeah. And I just thought everything was my fault. Like it was always, I could have done better. I could have been better. Like I did this because of you. And I'm just like, no, like in the end, it's just you have an issue and you like having a double life. This is what this is. But it's just so interesting looking back, because your question about like, you know, what did you learn from this, or did you take anything from this? I took so much because it taught me about my boundaries, and it also made me realize that like I mirrored so much of relationships that I saw growing up that I thought nurturing somebody and taking care of somebody was giving everything of myself to them. And that's not it. That's not it. Like you actually being the perfect partner for your partner is also pouring into yourself and understanding where to say no and like where to stop. So I did all those things, and now I'm a coach. So part of your process becomes like what you're meant to do and what you're meant to share.
Right.
And there are plenty of people who I'm sure listen to your podcast who have been through things that you've been through, and you being able to make light of it or talk about it in your special way makes them feel more comfortable.
And it does, because one thing that I love about it is a lot of my haters, but with the people
that's a whole other topic I want to talk about after this.
Let's go. I love my haters, but there's excuse me. The people that have came to me and been like, hey girl, like the fact that you are so raw and been able to like talk about it, like I've been through that, I just don't know who to talk to. And then I'm like, I'm so hooked on Instagram. That's why I'm so sad that I got banned, because I have so many Insta friends that I've made over the time with my podcast who are like, oh my God, I've been through that. Like, you've been through that too. And then I'm like, yeah, DM me. Don't keep it in the comments. Like, DM me. And then they're like, yeah, this guy did this to me. And I can't believe, like, he was, because I had posted something about a guy who, he was cheating on me, but he was married. And he was cheating on his wife while she was deployed with me. He was going to move in with me and everything. And I just had a bunch of ladies, like, on there, like, oh my God, this guy did that to me too. This guy did that to me too. Like, I'm still crying over it. And I was like, girl, just joke about it. Like, let's talk about it. But it's like, at this point, it's a joke. Like,
let's not make it so serious where we can't manage it.
And one thing that I love that I've taught, that I feel like I've taught people is like, bro, everything's a fucking joke. Everything in life except my bills. Everything in life is a fucking joke. I'm like, you can literally laugh at the fact that you got your tire popped in the middle of the fucking freeway. Like, are you dead? No. Did you die? No, you're fine. So let's joke about it now. Like, let's joke with the cop or whatever the fuck. Like, all you gotta do is just make light of the moment. Nothing in life is serious at all. It shouldn't be. So when it comes to my haters, it's taught me like how to really be like about me, you know, like if you don't like me, fuck it, I'm gonna agree with you, fuck it. Like, people be calling me a hoe all the time because I have OnlyFans, and I'm like, I have an OnlyFans, but I don't even show my titties. What the?
It's just the judgment that people pass, and that was the other thing. Amber handles my YouTube, thank God, because I can't go in my comments. Like, that is something that I still feel, and I'm not even ashamed to admit it, but like, I'm a sensitive person. So I'm a little sensitive person. I don't care as much anymore. Like, I could give two fucks what somebody says, but I know I can't go in there and read. Like, if I get sucked into the tunnel of like, let me go read a bunch of comments, if I do it too long, my mind will start kind of like twisting, and I'll get so fired up. I want to spend time firing back. Yeah. And that energy is like not something that I have to give. So I stay out of it. But I will say, I just don't give a fuck anymore. Yeah. Like, if you literally, in my mind, if you have time to spend writing negative shit to someone you don't even fucking know on the internet, you have too much time on your fucking hands. Go do something productive. Go do something for yourself, because you clearly are threatened, intimidated, or bothered by my pure existence on the internet.
Seriously.
That's a you problem. That's a fucking you problem. And usually a jealousy problem. There's always something in there that you triggered somebody.
Yeah.
You triggered somebody, and it's because maybe you're doing something that they wish they could do. They are not as outspoken as you. They don't have the nerve to share, or they're just threatened by your
Or they
presence.
think they're Jesus, because they think they can judge.
And they think they put themselves on this pedestal. They've done nothing wrong. So that's when you know you can just like take yourself out of the equation. But it doesn't mean that every once in a while there's stuff that like will get thrown out that'll like jab me. Most times it's just fucking stupid shit, like just dumb shit. But when I first got on social media, I struggled big time.
Really?
Oh my gosh, huge. And it was when I first started getting a little bit of exposure on social media, because you know, the more exposure you get,
the more haters
you get, the more influx of negativity that comes with it, and judgment. And I remember there were things that were said, and I'm like, man, like, that really fucking hurt. And I would like take it home with me. Yeah. But this was also during the time in my life where I was working in restaurants, and I was a hairstylist, and so I was around people all the time. And if something happened at work, I would still let it ruminate when I got home. So I think this was like an era of my life where I was really caring too much about what people thought, or what they think, you know,
their opinions of you.
Right, their projections, everything. Now,
projections, exactly.
Yeah, now I just don't care. Like, if something happens at the club and I'm working, like the nightclub, and I go through some like, you know, irritating customer, I literally go in the back and just laugh about it.
Yes,
I'm like, really, this is like,
she laughs about it.
It's just so stupid. Like, there's some stuff that I still struggle with, but like you said, that even like, let's take it not so serious. You pop a fucking tire, you're late for work. Yeah. Like, okay, like that sucks, right? But let's laugh a little bit about it. Like, let's make light of the situation a little bit, because what other option do you have to sit there and just complain and be negative and be frustrated? Like, you know, like, deal with it. Like, you missed your flight, your tire popped, you're late for work, just handle it. But at the same time, what are you gonna do?
It's being resilient.
Yeah, that also creates that to have like a rollover effect into other serious areas of your life.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah,
very much. Because there's some, like you said, like if you miss your flight, that's important. Because now if you miss your flight, you probably missed an appointment, you probably missed some work or something like that. But I'm like, I'm just that person where I'm like, shit, I missed my flight. Well, now I got more time to eat.
There's only so much control you have over those situations. You're going to spend, an hour there bitching at the girl at the gate about why the plane is late. Like, obviously, it's not her fucking fault. Like, she has no control over this. But that extra energy you just exerted on being negative, it's just going to be bad. Like, it's just going to have a rollover effect on the rest of your day to actually make it continuously worse. Being like, well, whatever, guess we're late. Let's go have a drink and fucking figure it out.
I had my car stolen, and I was like, hey, can you take me to the... I had my car stolen by a guy that I was dating, in a sense. He took my keys and went to... So he didn't steal my car. He stole my car keys. So, and he went to California with them. And I was like, why would you... Like, I was so mad at him, but then I was like, well, let me call this other guy. Not like that. But I was like, let me call this other guy and see if he'll just take me to the liquor store so that I can get some wraps, because I was like, I need to smoke this out. And I ended up having like an amazing night, because I was like, bro, he fucking took my keys. He's in Cali. And we're just talking, we're smoking. And he was like, you are so resilient, because you're like, you just don't care. And I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, he's in Cali.
Yeah,
am I gonna ask him to do
much.
mail my keys? Like, he's not gonna mail my keys. I'll just wait till he comes back. I have another car. Like, I didn't have like another car, but like my roommate, I'm like, I have another car. I do have someone who can give me a ride. You came over here and went to get me wraps and weed. Like, I have people that love me, and that's when I realized, like, when I'm going through shit, whoever was there for me, I'm like, I have people who love me. I have people who are there for me. Like, I do have peace of mind around me, and like, just be resilient and and just think of like the positive things that are going on while this negative thing is happening. Because I can't hold on to negative shit, because I'm a fucking hothead, bro. If I hang on to negative shit, everybody's gonna feel it, and that's what I don't like either. Because I'm a projector. I will project. Like, if I'm upset, everybody's gonna be upset around me. So I'm like, what I tend to do is I'm like, just calm it down. I was like, because it's not Christina's fault. It's not Amber's fault. Like, let's be like they're here for me. Let's be funny with them. Let me make light of the situation. Because if not, then I'm just like, my fucking tire, bro. It's fucking stupid. That's energy transfers, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
I don't like being the person that energy transfers some negativity. I don't like that.
It's not necessary.
It's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Unless it's my haters on YouTube.
You're like, I will go 100% in on this.
Sometimes, but like one thing about it is, I agree with everything they say. If you love me, thank you. If you hate me, like, oh, you're a fucking slut, sure is. Yes, the fuck I am. Or they'll be like they called me 304. Or no, 304 means like whore.
Oh my God. Okay, that's just some like red pill fucking bullshit. You guys have codes for what you calling girl a hoe?
Yeah, just call me a hoe, dumbass. I'm like, you came up with numbers. Like, not only is not like letters just fucked up the alphabet, now we're going into numbers on how to call me a hoe. Like,
that's so funny that you mentioned that, because there was one day I posted a video of me like during prep when I'm like shredded, and it was like me on stage, obviously in a bikini. I thought it was like my most beautiful moment I've ever had in my life. And this fucking guy on Instagram comments like, what a poor excuse for wife material. You're a typical 304 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? Wait. What is this guy saying? I had no idea what that meant. And I commented back, and we got in this, the video went a little viral, and it became this huge thing. Mm-hmm. And there were a few like red pill guys in there going off about how like, I'm a slut, I'm this, I'm a poor excuse for what a man would want. And I'm just like, I'm thinking like, I didn't even do anything. This is literally me on stage in my most passionate form.
And doing you.
And doing me, like. And they... Right.
That's what those red pill guys do not like when women are doing what the fuck they want to do.
It's wild to me though, because even in that moment, there was nothing even like super sexually like driven about it.
Yeah.
However, the guys who do that think that if you are even like in a bikini on the internet, doing anything, you are a slut.
You're like, it's a muscle competition.
It's wild to me. And they're like, well, you know what? If you were a good woman, you wouldn't be putting your body out there on the internet. And I'm like, that's some shit. Because you know what's funny? And then he was like, girls like this are overrated. I've had them. I'm like, sure you fucking have.
The fuck? motherfucker. Not if you're commenting hate on a YouTube video.
Yeah, I actually wound up I screenshotted a bunch of those comments and I pasted them all over my photo and I reposted it and I'm like, this is fucking wild.
Yeah.
This is wild. I mean, it started it all over again, but it just goes to show you like the army of people that are on the internet that typically really believe that women should not be doing anything like that and showing off any parts of their body that they've worked hard on. It's like, it's just so baffling to me. But that, you know what, that was actually during the time that I woke up and I'm like, I just don't give a fuck. Yeah. And it's not even in a way where I'm trying to be like super masculine, like I don't fucking care, I'm gonna do me. It's like, no, your opinion doesn't matter.
Like, you don't pay my bills, motherfucker. Where are you at?
Yeah.
Where are you? You're fucking commenting from a trailer in the middle of like Alabama. What the fuck are you like hating on me for? I'm in Vegas in a bikini suit. Like, my thing is like, you're in a muscle competition. Like, you're supposed to be showing your physique, your muscles. Like, you are supposed to be highlighting what you look like, and you're even doing this, you're flexing and all that good shit. How the fuck they supposed to see that in sweatpants? In a fucking Mormon dress.
Well, it just goes to show you that is a typical, like a great example of not getting caught up in what people say on the internet whose opinions don't matter to you. Yeah. And if you're truly doing what you're passionate about and like what you believe in, it doesn't really matter. And that's why I was super interested to talk to you about it, because your stuff is so unfiltered. Like, I can't be that unfiltered. Like, everyone who knows me like knows I'm not a very like I'm outgoing to an extent, but like I also am like
you're like, I can't say that.
But yeah, but that's just who I am. Yeah. But I have so much respect for people who are outgoing like yourself and who are so raw and unfiltered. I have a lot of respect for that, because I'm like, you don't care, and don't not care in a like,
not in a malicious way.
No, you just, it doesn't matter.
I just don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I love podcasting so much, and I love people sharing their voice so much, because you will reach your people. Mm-hmm. And whatever group that is, like, there might be a girl who has so much fear in speaking out about being raped, or has so much fear in speaking out about being in the adult industry and things that may have happened to her behind closed doors that she's terrified to talk about. Yeah. And you sharing your story helps the next person. Right. So like, I mean, I know that's like a very serious, like emotional way to talk about it, but it's fucking true. Yeah. And some people need laughter, and they need comedy, and they need a lighthearted way of processing. And that's what you're here for. So it's like something to be applauded. And, I will continue sharing my story. People are like, you still talk about getting cheated on. You still talk about all this shit. I'm like, but I talk about it for a reason.
You're talk about somebody.
Yeah, and it's not to like ruminate on the things that happen to you, but it's to share that story, to continue pushing forward and gaining listeners who you're helping along the way. I actually just randomly 2 days ago had a girl reach out to me and was like, this is a long shot, and I know I'm bringing up the past, but did you date so and so years prior? And at first,
mention the ex.
At first, that was my reaction. I'm like, fuck, like, again, this has been like almost 4 years now. Yeah. And I was like, yes, we were engaged, and I kept it very short. But then she sends me this huge paragraph about how I've inspired her, how she's gotten out of toxic relationships, how she watched it for so long, and just, she's like, and the last thing she said to me was, I hope this message reaches you in case you were ever wondering why you were creating content or what you were doing it for, or if you were ever struggling, because for people like me, and I swear to God, you can ask Amber, for the last month, I've been struggling so fucking bad, being like, I don't know why I record. I don't know what kind of content to create anymore. I don't know what message I'm sharing. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And so to get a message like that, you're like, people are still listening. Yeah. They're still responding. And like, you know what, you might get, let's say 20 messages this week telling you like, you've helped me. That is probably a fraction of the people that you've actually reached, because there are still people who don't say anything. There are people who still will not say anything. You might get, this is for anybody, any creator, you might get 100 comments or 100 likes on your page. That is not to say that there aren't another 100, another 200 that have passed it, that it's meant something, but they just don't hit the like button. You don't know how many people you are affecting. So sharing your message in whatever way that is, I think, is incredibly important. I think it's really awesome that you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I will say that.
Thank you so much.
Do you have any advice for anybody who's like going through what you've been through, or, you know, who want to speak out about it, or, you know, become a creator like yourself?
if you want to become a creator, just fucking do it. Like,
It's
the
right?
easiest fucking thing. Like, I'm talking, like, you don't need a fucking studio the way that we have a studio. Like, I love that I have the studio, but literally, like, mics are like $150. Just get the fucking mic and get in front of your fucking phone and just start posting. Because one thing about it is, the reason why I wanted to do podcasting was because a lot of people were telling me, like, when I was on Instagram and I would post something stupid and I'm like, this motherfucker did this, that, and the third. And I'm venting about it and they're like, that's so fact. They're like, you need a fucking show. Like, you need a reality show. And I was like, well, I'm trying. I'm trying. But a podcast is where I'm going to start. But a lot of people were telling me, like, you need a fucking show. Like, your message is dope. So if you feel like you have a message, just go for it.
Yeah.
And one of the best advices that I can give to people, in my opinion, is the best advice that I've ever gotten in my fucking life was expectations are the root to disappointment. If you expect anything from anybody or out of a situation, you're gonna be disappointed. So just go in with the love. Like, just go in like, hey, you really interested in this guy? Just go in, just like, okay, I'm just gonna let it ride out. Like, kind of like go with the flow. It's hard to go with the flow. It's really hard to go with the flow, especially with situationships and the way life is nowadays with social media and stuff. It's really hard to go with the flow. But if you go in with absolutely no expectations, you don't get disappointed. You just kind of ride it out.
Yeah, that's huge. I never used to be like that. And now letting go and just letting things be and letting the universe or God, whatever you believe in, like, take the reins on your life and your situations. There's so much less stress that comes with that. And just letting go, like you said, expectations and your grip on how you think something should be, life will be so much easier for you and things will flow so much easier when you just let things happen the way they're supposed to versus gripping so hard, like, I need to have this, it needs to be like this. No.
Sometimes it's just
You gotta
not
let
meant
go.
for you. Yeah, like holding on to a relationship is stupid. Holding on to a job is dumb. And like, if you are genuinely unhappy, let the fuck go.
Yeah, it's
Even
the art
if it's
of
your kids,
detachment.
bro. Like,
Yeah.
let
Practice
Go
detachment.
take them to the babysitter. Let go. Just let go and just fucking do you. Like, sometimes you just need a break. But you gotta just let things just ride out. You gotta let it just ride out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for taking the time to share all of that
Thank you
today.
for having
It was
me.
so nice to learn more about your story. And it's just, I think that diving deep and, sharing all those things, like I said, is so important. And you're being so raw and authentic. So I thank you for that.
Thanks.
And if you guys want to check out Lana's podcast, I'll make sure to leave her information below until she gets her personal back as well. But the podcast here is Laughing with Lana at Sticky Paws Studios. And be sure to check out all of our other podcasts here that come from Sticky Paws. I just almost broke this microphone. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to message Lana or I, and we'll see you next time. Yay.